Hey guys, what up? Mike here. Thanks for checking another video blog. Let's talk about UX design. Let's continue that discussion. And in particular, I want to talk about the mindset that a UX designer needs to have on a day-to-day basis and should bring to the table on a day-to-day basis. This all stems from my last video, or a comment in my last video, where I talked about UX design not being rocket science. Actually, I got some really good response from that video. A lot of positive comments, a lot of positive feedback. A ton of people resonate with what I was saying, and I love that. And that actually means that I hit a chord, that so many people love that video and appreciate that video, is saying something. But when I talk about UX design in this simplified form in terms of like being common sense, by no way am I downplaying the value and the importance of UX design, right? So keep that in mind, because UX design is a discipline on its own, and it may seem sometimes, because I preach on bridging. I preach on merging UI and UX design together. So if you hear everything that I talk about, it's all about UI and UX design, and those are two distinctively different disciplines. One being visual graphic design for interfaces, right? That's UI design. The other one being really the focus on customers and improving how customers interact with your systems and the things that you're designing, right? So there's two different disciplines. And so a lot of times when I talk about UX design in this simplified form, it may step on the toes or hurt some feelings in terms of those who have studied UX design solely on its own. And I get that, and that's not anything that I want to do. UX design is something that can be studied and performed day in and day out. In fact, I work with those folks. We call them UX researchers. They're just doing UX research. They're studying, they're getting information from customers, they're understanding business requirements, and they're collecting data. They're doing testing, they're observing, and they're collecting data and informing visual UI designs and how that all comes together, right? So there are professionals that are just doing UX design work, right? I do a hybrid of those things. I'm a hybrid of those. I perform UI, visual UI design, graphic design, as well as take into account what UX design and the importance of what UX design is and why it's needed on a day-to-day basis, right? So I just wanted to say that. So if you're like me and you're also a visual UI designer, but you want to grow into becoming a UX designer, you have to have the right mindset. And what that is, somebody made a comment in my last video about UX designer takes a special type of person. It takes an inquisitive person, and I really like that word. And what they were trying to say is inquisitive being like a curious person. Basically, to be a good UX designer, you have to be an inquisitive person and really try to, with everything that you're designing, with every piece of work that you're working on, understand and ask questions on whether or not this type of work are solving the needs of the customers, right? And you may think that that's common sense, that is obvious, but a lot of times when we're doing visual design work, like if we're designing logos or if we're working on some graphics and things like that, we're more so concerned about the pixel and getting it pixel perfect rather than focused on the client at that particular junction, right? So there's a distinction. When you're working on visual design work, you're not really focused on the user. But in general, when you're not focused on graphic design work, the main thing that you should be focusing on are the customers and the clients' pain points and how they interact with the systems and the interfaces that you're designing, right? So every single day you have to be thinking, and you actually have to train yourself to think this way. And this all stems from, let me say this. In the book, Think and Grow Rich, there are 13 success principles, right? One of those principles is Audible Suggestion. basically, audible suggestion is when you continue to verbalize your goals on a day-to-day basis, when you read them to yourself, when you go to bed, when you read them to yourself when you wake up, you will actually start working on tasks that gets you closer to those goals, if that makes any sense. It's like the law of attraction. When you continue to think a certain way, you will actually move towards that particular thing, right? If you think happy all the time, you will be a happy person. If you think sad all the time, you'll be a sad and gloomy person, right? UX design is the same way. When you walk into your office, when you're working with your product managers, when you're working with your stakeholders, when they're giving you instructions on business requirements that you need to design for, always be inquisitive. Always ask the questions on how this relates to improving our customer needs, right? And that's what I mean. So in the sense of this principle, audible suggestion, when you walk into your office and when you open up your systems and you're working every single day you have to be understanding, how does this improve the customer experience? How does this improve usability? Are we doing the right things for the user? Is this improving the experience, right? And that's the type of mindset that a UX designer needs to have, especially those of us like you and I who are this hybrid sort of professional. We're doing a little bit of this work, we're doing a little bit of that work, and we're doing some UX design work. It's obvious for strict UX designers because that's their day job. They're just doing that day and night. But for those of us who span these different disciplines, we have to make sure that we have that mindset. All right, hopefully there's a few nuggets in here that you can take away. There's a lot of things I could talk about. I wish, because there's some good comments, I wish that I could have like this round table, like this workshop, and we can ask questions and then we can talk about things, because a lot of times when I shoot these videos, there's so much more to be said and I can't get it all across, but that's the gist of it. Have that type of mindset and think about that term audible suggestion and how important that particular principle is. Continue to ask yourself, continue to train yourself into thinking about the users day in and day out when you're designing your interfaces. All right, thanks for watching, guys. As always, if you like the things that I talk about, please hit the like button, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and hopefully you got some good nuggets out of this video, and we'll talk soon. All right, peace.